This photo, you've probably seen it before. A pale, deformed humanoid figure, grinning eerily, skin stretched tight across its bones. It's been shared thousands of times across the internet. Some say it's real, a survivor of a Soviet sleep experiment gone horribly wrong. But where did this image really come from? And why do so many believe the story behind it? It all started in 1947, when 5 political prisoners were locked inside a sealed room in a secret Soviet facility. The experiment was simple: stay awake for 15 days and they would be free. During these 15 days, they would be given oxygen, food, water, and they would inhale a gas that would make it impossible for these Russian soldiers to sleep. For the first 2 days, everything seemed fine. They talked, laughed. There was hope. No one felt tired, but that hope would quickly fade, replaced by a growing sense of dread. By the 3rd day, something began to shift. Their behavior became erratic. One of the prisoners whispered into the microphone for hours, repeating the same phrase, "They're coming." Another prisoner started accusing his cellmates of being spies, mumbling incomprehensibly about strange noises coming from the walls. By day 4, they had stopped speaking to one another entirely. They sat in silence, staring at the walls, their minds beginning to break down. By day 5, the situation took a horrifying turn. The prisoners were no longer speaking to each other, but they were making sounds. One prisoner began screaming, but not out of fear. He screamed as if in pure agony, the sound of his voice scraping the air, a desperate cry that seemed to twist and contort his body. On day 6, 2 prisoners began to mutilate themselves. They started digging into their own skin with their nails, peeling off flesh in horrific patterns. The others could do nothing but stare, their bodies frozen in horror. By the 7th day, a prisoner's voice echoed out in a low, raspy whisper, pleading for release, but not for himself. It was a desperate cry for mercy, as if he could no longer tell the difference between his own sanity and madness. By day 8, the prisoners were no longer human. Their eyes were wild, bloodshot, and wide open, but their minds were gone. They no longer screamed, no longer begged. Their bodies had become hollow shells. One of them had torn out his own eyes, dropping them onto the floor, and then continued to move, as though nothing had happened. On day 9, the last trace of humanity disappeared. The remaining prisoners began to beg for death. Their voices were raw, broken, as if they were already dead inside. One prisoner whispered softly, "I wish I could sleep. Please, I want to sleep." By day 10, the guards opened the door to check on them. What they found was a room of blood, mutilation, and madness. Only 2 prisoners remained alive, and they were unrecognizable, with their bodies twisted and deformed. On day 11, the last prisoner's plea was heard, as he begged to be allowed to sleep just for a moment. But when the guards approached to release them, something went horribly wrong. The surviving prisoners attacked, desperately attempting to escape. One of them screamed in terror, "You will never let us sleep again!" The guards fired in panic, killing the remaining prisoners. It is said that the bodies of the prisoners were found mutilated beyond recognition. They were covered in marks from self-inflicted wounds, their mouths twisted into grotesque smiles. But the terror did not stop there. It was then that the Soviet government shut down the experiment, locking the files away, and the story was lost to time. But where did the infamous sleep test image come from? This disturbing photo is one of the most widely circulated images associated with the Russian bedroom myth. The figure in the photo, with its grotesque, distorted face and large, unblinking eyes, has become a symbol of this disturbing question. However, this image is not an actual photograph of the chosen experiment. In fact, it is a work of art. It even has a man-made name, Spasm. Whoever took Spasm to make this image disturbing will continue to be associated with the horrifying story. As for the story itself, it is almost certainly a work of horror. Although the details are very vivid, there is no evidence that such an experiment ever took place. The image, like the story, is a product of the internet age, a modern myth born of creativity, fear, and curiosity. Yet, despite its mythic status, the image continues to be disturbing, continuing to cause both pain and fascination in those who stumble across it. So what is the truth? The Russian sleep experiment, however horrifying, is just that, a story. A disturbing work of fiction that taps into our deepest fears about the power of the sleep mind and the terrifying mysteries that science and government can unleash. But whether true or not, the myth persists, lurking in the darkest corners of the internet, ready to terrify any curious mind that stumbles upon it.